Hello and welcome back, or if it's your first time, welcome to my home. My name is Ben and I'm the Miniature Militia of Minnesota, all in one person. I'm glad that you could make it today because we are going to be working on some more of the details of this here Huskard from the Beastclaw Raiders of Age of Sigmar. We've got some nice detail to work in here, and we're actually going to stop a little bit short, so we're just blocking in colors today, and I just wanted to go about showing how I think about and conceptualize leathers as I am applying them to miniatures. So you're going to see quite a few different leathers go down and get started on this miniature today. Follow along. Hey, one quick thing I wanted to add. I'll have a link down below to an Imager album of how I made this fall base for another project that I'm working on, Beastmen from Age of Sigmar. So go ahead and check that out if you're interested. Alright, I lied a little bit. We are actually starting out with Skaven Blight Dinge on this ogre's beard. So not leather, but another detail on his body that I wanted to make sure that I worked on. And actually I'd filmed it for the last video and it didn't quite fit in. So this worked out nicely. With Skaven Blight Dinge not being a base paint, it's not going to be that different from applying a base paint to the miniature, but the opacity is just going to be a little bit thinner and you might want to apply an extra coat or two. Next up we have the classic shade Nuln Oil being applied to the beard. This is just to give a nice depth to the recesses of each of the strands of hair that are going right out of the chin of this little ogre.
Who you callin' little?
Oh great, you came back today. Well, I just mean that it is a small, as in miniature, version of a very big ogre.
Seems like rather the complex concept.
Next up is taking some Dawnstone, thinning it out of course, and applying it with the brush and taking advantage of the shape of the brush and how brushes work. So for a lot of these strands of hairs that I'm picking out, I'm just running the side of the brush along it in order to just hit that raised detail. Now some of them I had to go in with the tip of the brush and actually pick out the old-fashioned way, but for quite a bit of them, especially on this model's beard, I didn't have to do that.
Maybe I should consider just for men. Or just for ogres.
Well, that may be true, buddy. Next up we have Administratum Gray to pick out even more of these white details, because I want this ogre to appear battle-hardened, and as though he has lasted quite a few long hunts in the tundra and beyond.
Saltwife does say she likes my salt and pepper beard.
And how couldn't she? I mean, this is a nice way to achieve an effect of having an aged salt and pepper beard. You can do this on just about any model you want. Works the same for hair on the top of the head as well. The final step here for the beard is going to be taking a small dry brush with long beard gray and applying a final highlight over the raised portions of the hair.
Ooh, do the bones next.
Well, that is probably going to be in the next video, if not completely glossed over for this series, as bones are pretty basic. If I don't end up doing them in the next video, you can be sure that I'll be adding the recipe for the various bone parts of this miniature in the description beneath it. But for now, we've got some Eshin Gray to be applied to the boots now of this miniature, as we are moving on to our leather sections. In an effort to avoid inundating my militia men and women that are watching this video right now with too many Beastclaw Raider videos, I think that I'm going to limit it to at most 2 more videos on how to paint Beastclaw Raiders, and then move on to something different to provide more variety to the channel. Speaking of doing the same thing in a different way, I have what I think might be the 7th or 8th different gray that's being applied to this model, and it is going on the fur and the furry leather swatch on the ogre's back. So the fur of the boots and the swatch on his back are both getting hit with Mechanica Standard Gray here. And I'm going to be incorporating the scheme of Mechanica Standard Gray going up to a white on the Mournfangs for this army. Next I've got Dryad Bark for the pants, and with Dryad Bark as well, and a lot of these colors for the leather, as I mentioned with the Mournfangs, I'm thinking through what other colors am I going to be using on the creatures and beasts of the army, because I want it to be clear that this big Huskard, this leader, has taken down quite a few of the great beasts that the Beastclaw Raiders encounter and have mastered in his travels. Next is Steel Legion Drab, and I often use this color as a base for ropes and for like linen wrappings and other things that are going to be more of a cloth or a natural material, especially on armies and models that wouldn't have a civilized industrial method of producing that material. So it gives a nice dirty handmade effect on these areas. And you can see I applied it to the ropes on the back as well as the straps with which the Huskard holds the stone horn on the horns there. And what would be a complete paint scheme using Citadel paints without Mournfang Brown? This pot I'm showing you, I actually discovered right after opening, is basically empty. But I am using Mournfang Brown to give some variety to the leathers. Of course, I didn't want to use the same color leather for, say, the saddle underneath the pants. So, essentially, where 2 leathers meet, I'm using Dryad Bark and Mournfang Brown alternatively to establish a difference in color tone and quality of leather. Hey everyone, I'm glad that you could be here today. Thanks for coming and watching my video. You're awesome. I'm so glad to have you, and I'm so thankful for everyone that watches these videos. This video today is just a little bit shorter, if you haven't noticed already, and so I decided I wanted to talk just a little bit here on the end, and this might not regularly happen, but I wanted to add this to see what people's feedback and reactions are. So leave a comment down below if you would, and let me know whether or not you like the little bit longer form videos, or if you like these where it's a little bit more compact and it's this section, this section, this section separated out, and I'll be sure to check those out. As always, like and subscribe. Thanks for coming again, and shout out to my one patron, Allison. Again, thank you, and have a great day.